Hello, beautiful people. My name is Christine, and today I'm just gonna speak on the most recent episodes of the online panel discussion show called The Grapevine here on YouTube. And what I'm gonna do is just expand on a few expand on a few comments and a few points that were brought up in the episode. And the episode I'm gonna speak on is the knife crime in the UK. So when you type in the Grapevine on YouTube, you should get something like this. If you click on the channel, you will come up to this page. So the episode I'm going to speak on is this one, titled Knife Crime in the UK. As you can see, it's from season 3, episode 27. So if you are looking for something to watch, this is you can just go through the archives and check through some of their previous videos. I'm sure you're not going to be disappointed. The discussion was well rounded. It was very much needed. I commend everyone for bringing different points to the table. I learned something new from it, and it was nice to hear different people's perspective on very serious issues affecting black people, especially in the UK. So I just want to add my own things that I felt were missing from the discussion, but they were touched on, but they weren't expanded on. And the main thing I want to talk about, or the main focus of this video, would be more so of the responsibility of black people in the UK. So apart from white supremacy, apart from the UK government, apart from these other outside forces that work against, black people, especially in the UK, in terms of progress, in terms of economic freedom and all that stuff, we as black people need to take responsibility for how we are contributing to our current state in the UK and in the world, because it is very easy to point accusing fingers and not take a deeper look at how we are also affecting the community. So what the point I wanted to raise, the point I'm going to speak on, somebody mentioned it in the panel, where they mentioned how, in terms of knife crime, some parents, some of the contributing factors are some parents are absent. They work multiple shifts, so nobody is home to accommodate their kids when they come back home. The kids come from school and they don't meet a parent at home, and this leads them to feel a sense of freedom. They go out on the streets, they seek that love and they seek that bonding that they're not getting at home. And as much as he said that, and one of the guys on the panel mentioned that, and that was a very interesting point, which was quickly brushed away. But I'm going to expand on that, because as black people, firstly, let me address that particular statement in terms of having parents who work multiple jobs. I understand that in the UK it is difficult to raise kids. It is not easy, and if unless you work as a professional or a skilled worker, it's hard for you to earn good money and live a good life. And adding children on top of that makes it extra hard. So what I'm going to say to that is that there is a solution, and that is, to me, very simple, in the sense that parents have to be there for their kids. As much as we chase money, as much as we want to provide a good life for our kids, as much as we want a better life for them, what is the joy in working and slaving when your kid gets killed? What is the joy of a parent when you're striving to make your children have a good life and they end up in prison? And if I tell you that all this could be avoided if only you paid a bit more attention to your children, wouldn't you want to do that? So what I'm saying is that as a parent, if you are somehow missing important times in your child's life, if for some reason you have to work extra shifts, I tell you that you have to decide what is important to you. What is important to you as a family? It's all good and well to have money but not have peace of mind. not know what your kids are up to after school, not know that your kids are involved in gang activity, that your kid has killed another kid, or that your kid has been a victim of gang abuse or whatever, because you're not home to speak to your children, you're not home to be a mentor to them. So I plead with parents out there to find a way to work around to find a timetable that works. Sit down with your husband. If you're a single parent, you need to reevaluate. Maybe ask for time at work and try and change some of your shifts around so you have um time to spend with your kids. Or if that is not possible, if you're not able to change around your shifts at work, you might have to look into getting a different job. You might have to look into keeping your kids with and someone you trust. So maybe a parent in the school who lives close to you, whose child also goes to the school. Your child doesn't even have to be in the same class with that fellow child. But the important thing is to provide an environment where the child feels welcome, where the child feels loved. So if you can drop the child off at someone, the church, whoever it is, if you can't make up the time, I wouldn't suggest parents to allow their children to to come home to an empty house. That is a very, very dangerous road. So these are just some practical solutions parents out there need to take in order to monitor their children, and this is in direct solution to one of the um, causes of maybe gang violence when kids are unattended. And the second thing I wanted to mention if going on in the same line of young children getting involved in gang activity, we have to be our brother's keeper. And I say this because it's very hard for me to believe that parents, cousins, brothers, sisters do not know people or kids or children that are involved in gang activity or are showing delinquent behavior. It's difficult for me to believe that we don't see certain traits in some of the kids that are around us. We don't see some telltale signs. So when we see these signs, when we see children acting out around us, when we see our cousins, our brothers, our sisters, our nieces acting out, what are we doing to combat this? What are we doing to bring these children back in? So when you see a child going astray and you do not help that child, you are part of the problem. It could be as simple as telling that child's parent that, look, your son did this, I think you should check him. It could be that simple. It could be as simple as just warning another parent, warning someone in church, if it's in church and you see behavior that is shocking or you see behavior that is concerning, raise that issue, report it to a higher authority in the church. And something may come of it, something may not, but you have done your civic duty as a human being. You have done your duty. Because it's better to try than not to try. We are the community, so we need to help each other out. We can't let somebody else's child go astray, because that child could potentially become a gang member and could go and stab another child out there. So we have to break the chain. So apart from just parents taking more active role in their children's life, making the decision to be present, the second thing is that we have to be our brother's keepers. When we see strange behavior, we have to report it. And the third thing I want to talk about is as as people. How am I going to say this without offending people? As we need discipline. We need discipline. I think I don't want to generalize, but I want to say from what I've seen in terms of how black people operate in, spaces like in the UK, Europe, how black people operate in outside their environment, or in places where they're being, subjugated and oppressed, is that they tend to allow anything. So this sense of discipline, the sense of accountability is zero, because we're looking to survive in the system, so we're excusing each other's behavior. And what that means in terms of this knife crime in the UK is that when kids go out and young adults go out and they carry knives and they commit to killing and stabbing another child, another human being, they are not held accountable for their actions. Under the law in the country, they are. But as people, as black people, we do tend not to hold these kids accountable, because we look at them as kids, we look at them as victims, of this rigged system. They maybe lack education, maybe lack whatever it is, government funding. One of the causes of, the rise in knife crime in the UK was because, especially in London, is because they've cut, programs, which means that more of the youth are, jobless. And you know what they say, that an idle man is the devil's work workship, is the devil's, I can't remember the saying, but it's not good to be idle anyways. So that's one of the things that contributes to that. So backtracking to what I said earlier, when we because our kids, or because these young adults go through so much so early, because they feel the pain of being rejected, they feel the pain of not being wanted, they feel the pain of being treated as second class citizens, they carry knives to feel empowered. They seek validation on the streets. But what we fail to do is we fail to hold them accountable for their actions. As far as I am concerned, if you are of sane man, and if you have the ability to decipher between wrong and right, you should be trialed. For you have not you should be trialed, you should be held accountable for your actions. You should be able to face the law of the land. So I repeat myself, as a person you can distinguish between wrong and right, you know that if you kill somebody, it is a criminal offense and that person will die, and then you choose to kill that person, you should be able to face the law of the land. You should be able to deal with the consequences. And that's what I'm talking about. We excuse their behavior. We blame it on their background. We blame it on so many things. We blame it on, he's a child, she's a child, she didn't know it. But the reality is somebody is dead. A child is dead. A life is lost and cannot be brought back. So who are we gonna side? Who should who should have our sympathy? The murderer or the murdered? It's a simple question. And I'm not trying to say we shouldn't feel some sort of empathy towards kids who find themselves in gangs and who, you know, kill people. But what I'm saying is that they should be consequences for their actions. There should be consequences. As human beings, I don't believe that in our nature, it is human nature to want to do what is on their mind, to want to do what pleases them. But because of the law of the land, because we know that our actions have consequences, the law helps us stay in line. The law curbs our deepest, darkest desires. So when we do not apply the law to children and not make them face the law, they do not obey the law, and they do not respects the law. And that's what we see with all these kids carrying knives. The UK government in particular is quite lenient when it comes to youth crimes. And you could say, yeah, it's because there are a lot of people who say children are children, they don't know what they're doing. But I do not believe that. If a child is committed enough to carry a knife, they know what that knife can do. They're not carrying that knife to cut some cucumbers. They're not carrying that knife to cut some vegetables. They're carrying that knife to kill another human being. So how can you tell me that that child who committed to carrying a knife, who committed to planning the murder of another rival gang member, is somehow free from judgment? So I say all this to say that the fact that there are not serious consequences for children's and young adults' actions is one of the is I feel is one of the most important reasons as to why black kids, especially, they're not the only ones who stab, but especially in the UK, commit these crimes because there are no consequences. They have animosity. When they are caught, they are tried as children if they're under a certain age. So they can be out of prison or out of jail in 2 years. Or I don't know the law, but they could be out of prison in a short time. But that life they took will never come back. And I don't care about if a child feels guilt, if a child feels remorse. That is none of my business. My issue is that a child is dead. And I want to appeal to the black community as to where is our morality, where is our conscience? Why do we feel more passionate to defend a murderer than to defend someone who has been murdered? Because maybe it's because it's not happened to you personally, or you've never witnessed it, so it's easy for people to say, oh, they're just kids, they didn't know what they were doing. But they did know what they were doing. They did know what they were doing. I do not believe sending kids who commit these heinous crimes to prison is the way to punish them, because prison helps nobody. But there needs to be some way of making them feel the repercussions of their action. Something something so serious, or a punishment so great that it discourages children from picking up a knife, from joining gangs. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but if there was a way that the UK government can pass laws, and that can only happen if we have black lawyers, if we have minority lawyers, if we have people who are directly affected by knife crime in the UK, take up positions in leadership, take up positions in parliament, and fight and advocate for these laws, for stricter laws. Because at the end of the day, it's black children being killed. And this is a UK problem, but it's a black community. It's about black survival in the UK. We are a small percentage of the UK's population, and yet we are killing ourselves. We have enough problems we are facing every day. We do not need to add murder to it. We do not need to start killing each other. And I have no reason to hear, I have no concern as to why somebody carries a knife. That is not my business. I do not need to know why you carry a knife. I don't want you to carry a knife. You shouldn't carry a knife. You shouldn't kill your fellow black brother, your fellow black sister, your fellow black auntie, black parent. You shouldn't feel the need. You're too young to have such anger in your heart. So we need to address why these kids are acting out so much. We need to address it. And we need to take serious action when they do act out. Because there will be some who, regardless of their background, regardless of the laws in place, they will still do what is in their mind to do, they would still kill. But we need to have tighter laws. We need to have the government on the side of people who want to live, people who are productive in society, so that they can pass laws to protect us. And if that means we have neighborhood watch, if that means we have to, form organizations to keep ourselves safe, to bring about awareness, if that means we have to out these gang members, we have to do what we have to do to survive. I don't want to see my brother get killed. I don't want to see my sister get killed. I don't want to see my cousin get killed on the road, just passing by, just happen to be walking down the street, and someone shouts, someone thinks they're looking at them the wrong way, and they get stabbed. I don't want that to befall anyone I know. And if you don't want that too, if you're in the UK, if you're in London, if you're a parent, if you are a human being and you care, you should do something about it in your own way. So I want to take suggestions. If you have practical solutions, if you know of something that could help in this knife crime epidemic that is in the UK, it's been long going. It just seems right now that the media is choosing to report it, but knife crime is not something new in the UK. When my mum first came to England, knife crime was a big thing, and she's been in England over 30 years now. So it's not something that just came overnight. But it just seems that at the moment now, some people with agendas are covering it more in the media. But we as black people, and anyone, you don't even have to be black, anyone who cares, should please provide solutions, provide practical ways that we could combat this problem once and for all, so we can end knife crime once and for all in the UK. So that's just my little 2 cents on this topic. The Grapevine UK is a wonderful, wonderful show. I love what they're doing. I love the fact that they have very, very intelligent, diverse group of black people on the show. It is wonderful to see. It is breaking stereotypes. It is educative. In this, every single episode I watch of the Grapevine, I feel, I learn something new, which is wonderful. So I just, I love this platform, and I wish there would be lots and lots more group panel discussions concerning black issues, global issues. We need to talk. We don't talk enough about it. We need to keep on talking about it. Thank you for watching this video.